My name is Jonathan Archer, and I've never been fond of dramatics. Emotions were liabilities. My father used to say he was Austin Archer, a hardened man who built a company from the dust and turned it into a fortress. He was stoic. He was sharp, and I absorbed every lesson he taught me silently, thoroughly, even when I told myself I never wanted to become like him. If you asked me 10 years ago whether I believed in destiny, I'd have said no. But here I am stepping into a storm I never saw coming. And in some twisted way, I almost believe he predicted it all. I married Scarlett when we were both in our early 20s. She was full of life and warmth, and I felt privileged to be the man on her arm. We had a daughter, Willow. I poured time and resources into my family, trying to be what I thought was a good husband and father, even though my father's mannerisms lurked in me like an echo. 25 years of marriage. That's a lot of life. The arguments, the reconciliations, the daily routines. I had no idea how quickly any sense of stability could vanish, or how thoroughly illusions could be shattered when you realize that all along you may have been just one step away from losing everything you thought mattered. It all began as many things do with an ordinary day. August 27th. I remember it clearly. The air was hot. The sun hammered the city with a punishing glare. But in the office, things felt manageable. I closed out a few deals, ended meetings early, and decided to come home to surprise Scarlett. We approached our 25th wedding anniversary on September 1st. I was thinking we'd plan some getaway. Little did I know I was about to step into a confrontation that would destroy the life I knew. When I walked into the kitchen, I saw them. Scarlett by the counter, Willow seated at the table. They looked like they'd rehearsed speeches, though neither had said a word yet. I set my briefcase down, said a casual hello, and asked what was going on. Scarlett motioned toward the chair. "Jonathan, please sit," she said. Willow's eyes darted between us, almost triumphant. "Dad, we need to talk." I took a seat, resting my elbows on the table in a posture of forced calm. "All right," I said, looking from one face to the other. "I'm listening." Scarlett inhaled, then spoke softly but firmly. "We're going to hit 25 years in 5 days. Jonathan, I need change. I've been thinking about what I want out of life. These have been good years, I suppose, but I want the chance to explore something else." "What do you mean, something else?" I asked, my voice strangely steady. Willow chimed in. "Mom wants an open marriage," she said, her tone almost gleeful. "And I think it's a great idea. All modern couples do this. Everyone does, Dad. Physical stuff doesn't matter. You just need to trust each other." I turned to my daughter. That last sentence, the one about trust, it was almost insulting. "You're telling me that modern couples everywhere are doing this? Really?" She nodded like she was an authority on the matter. "You're so old-fashioned. Love isn't just about being physically exclusive these days. If you really love each other, you'll let each other be free." Inside, my stomach burned, a quiet anger simmering, but outwardly I maintained a neutral look. "Scarlett," I said, turning my attention to my wife, "is this how you feel?" She bit her lip, eyes shifting across the table. "Jonathan, I just need a change. It's not that I'm unhappy. I'm just bored with this. Doing the same thing, sleeping with the same man. I want something new." When she put like that with so little regard, something twisted in my chest. I had the urge to stand up and walk away. But I stayed put, tapping my fingers on the table in an old habit from my Army Ranger days. "Count, breathe. Don't let them see you break." So I said at length, "This is your plan? You date other men. And I do what? Sit at home, wave goodbye as you head out with them?" Willow scoffed. "Stop being so dramatic, Dad. You can date, too. Nobody's stopping you. But let's be honest, it might be a challenge for you. Just accept the times have changed. You'll probably need an app or something. But hey, you can figure out." They started giggling like I was some punchline on late-night TV. I clasped my hands, exhaled, and asked, "Is there already someone you have in mind?" "Scarlett." She hesitated only briefly. "It's James," she said softly. "James Smith. He owns that nice restaurant on Avenue Street." Willow leaned forward, excited. "Oh my God, Mom. I love your taste. He's so gorgeous. Good for you. Something inside me tightened. James, of course. I'd entertained business associates at his place so many times, and now he was apparently betting my wife. Still, I forced an even tone. I see you two have planned it well. So, Willow, you're telling me that if James wants to date your mother, you're all right with it? She flashed an easy smile. Of course. Don't be such a dinosaur, Dad. I said nothing else. Rising from my chair, I walked toward the sink, letting the quiet stretch. They seemed perplexed by my calm. Scarlett, I said at last, this is no trifling matter. You know that, right? She nodded, but set her jaw. I've never been more certain of anything, she said. I turned off the tap. All right, I'm in. They froze, and Willow actually smirked as though I'd given them a gift. Really? You'll agree to open the marriage? Yes, I said on one condition. There can be conditions, Willow interjected, crossing her arms. That's controlling. I make the conditions. I cut her off, turning to stare at both of them. This house belongs to me. Courtesy of the prenup I signed with your mother at my father's insistence. You two want your open arrangement? That's fine, but I will decide the ground rules for how we live in my property. If that's not acceptable, you'll find yourselves a different house, a different life. Understood? Scarlett's eyes widened, a flicker of apprehension there. Willow tried to brush it off with a laugh. Dad, this is half Mom's house legally. But Scarlett held up a hand. Stop, Willow, she said, her voice low. He's right. We did sign a prenup. The house belongs to Jonathan. I could sense Willow's tough facade losing ground. But you're not going to just kick us out, are you, Dad? I didn't answer. Instead, I walked out, leaving them to stew in the possibility. Later that evening, I hovered outside the kitchen listening to them. Old habits die hard, I suppose. I heard Willow whispering. See, he'll never actually throw you out. He's bluffing. You're the love of his life. Scarlett didn't sound convinced. You don't know your father, she said softly. He can be downright ruthless when pressed. Remember, he's an ex-Army Ranger. Did you know about everything he did in Afghanistan? I only know half the story, and that's enough to scare me. Willow huffed. He's not going to do anything. He's just a cranky old man who's in for a shock. We'll see. In that moment, all I could think about was how they had no idea. I discovered some darkness in me during those military years. Something cold and methodical. I tried to pack that all away under my suits and ties, but they had ignited a fuse. I retreated upstairs and let the household tension sit. The gauntlet had been thrown. Few realize that once you challenge a cornered man, you better brace yourself. The next day, I went straight to see Ron Jeremy, my lawyer since college. Despite his cheesy name and the jokes invited, Ron was the sharpest lawyer I had ever met. I confided in him countless times and knew he'd relish a complicated request. When I told him I wanted a post-nuptial agreement designed to lock Scarlett's potential claims, he asked me a straightforward question. Why not just file for divorce? Too simple, I said. I want to see how far this goes. I want them to experience the repercussions of asking for an open marriage without me quietly rolling over like some dog. He smirked. You're a bigger cynic than your old man ever was. All right, let's see these conditions. I laid out my plan, a rock-solid postnup that spelled out property rights, disposal of assets, monthly testing for STDs, disclaimers about children born with outside lovers, and no allowance for extramarital partners to enter my home. Ron, reading my notes, let out a low whistle. You are going for the jugular, my friend. I thought of my father's stoic face. I'm just establishing boundaries. They claimed they wanted. Let them become reacquainted with reality. 2 days later, we gathered in Ron's office. Me, Scarlett, Willow, and Scarlett's newly appointed lawyer, a tall, elegant woman named Leah. Leah's pinched expression grew more severe with each page she read. When she reached the final section, she slapped the paperwork onto the table. This states, Leah began icily, that if Scarlett files for a divorce while this open marriage agreement is in effect, she forfeits all possible alimony or spousal support. She cannot claim the house. She cannot claim the business, and she's barred from bringing any partner to the marital home. That includes James or anyone else. Scarlett frowned hard. Jonathan, that's too much, she said, glancing toward me. No support at all. If you walk out on me for your new lover, I said, why should I finance that arrangement? I'm simply upholding what we agreed on before we married. My father's prenup was thorough, but this clarifies the parts about an open arrangement. On top of that, you pay for your own dating expenses. Your share of the household bills remains my responsibility, but your little extracurriculars are on your dime. Willow chimed in, voice sharp. You're humiliating her. Dad, this is disgusting. No, I said and turned to look Willow in the eye. Your mother is free to do what she wants. You told me yourself that love isn't about money, so I'm sure she can handle a date or two. And if James is as well off as you claim, he won't let her pay for anything anyway, right? Scarlett inhaled slowly, then with forced calm said, Fine, I'll sign. Leah, let's just finalize it. Leah twisted her lips. It's unorthodox, borderline unconscionable. I'm comfortable with it, Scarlett insisted, raising her chin at me. He's trying to intimidate me, but I'm not scared. Willow pressed her arms tighter across her chest and glared. Mom, are you sure? Scarlett nodded. I'm sure. Ron pushed the documents forward and Scarlett signed. She looked at me with defiance, as though her pen strokes were an act of rebellion. Part of me almost admired the boldness, but another part of me wondered how blind she was to think she'd keep any real advantage here. Over the next few weeks, I went on autopilot. At the office, I functioned as usual. Deals and expansions, meetings and phone calls. But outside, something new stirred in me, a kind of analytical malice. Scarlett wasted no time arranging her date with James. Willow cheered her on, called me behind the times, going so far as to openly mock me at dinner with, Hey, Dad, you should try Tinder. I heard even old folks can get a match or two. I kept my composure. The day of Scarlett's big date arrived. So, I deliberately planned an elaborate move of my own. If Scarlett wanted James, the owner of a fancy restaurant, then I, ironically, would see if his daughter Maria might be interested in some company. She was 22, my daughter's age, yes, but also a legal consenting adult with her own life. We'd spoken a handful of times at various events. Maria knew exactly who I was, and she disliked her father's arrogance. It seemed she was looking for a chance to rebel against him. I reached out, somewhat half serious, half curious, and to my surprise, she accepted an invitation to dinner. On the evening Scarlett was set to meet James, I took Maria to a private function at a luxury hotel. The event was part of a charity fundraiser for veterans, something I related to in a quiet, personal way. I introduced Maria to some associates as my date, and she handled herself with poise. She wasn't just some airhead college girl. She was intelligent, holding her own in conversations about global finance and the complexities of running a business. People watched us, some in confusion, some with smirks, but I didn't care. All that mattered was a statement. If Scarlett and Willow thought I was too antiquated to find a date, I wanted to prove a point. It didn't take long for word to spread. By the next morning, Willow was screaming her head off in the living room when I returned home. You took James's daughter out? She shouted, fists clenched at her sides. What is wrong with you? I shrugged off my jacket, ignoring her theatrics. I took a consenting adult to a charity function. I said calmly, Your mother spent the night with James in some hotel, right? She's free to do as she pleases. I am free to do likewise. Willow's eyes blazed. You're sick. She's my age. I turned to face my daughter. You're telling me age is just a number when it's your mother, but unacceptable when it's me. Interesting double standard. She wanted to retort, but no words came. Instead, she let out a frustrated huff, turning on her heels and stomping away, retreating into her childhood bedroom. Scarlett never brought up that morning, though her face was pale, and I could sense the tension in her posture. She left for errands with a forced smile, refusing to invite conflict. The next major confrontation happened one weekend in the living room. I was seated in my armchair, reading the latest financial reports, when Scarlett, red-eyed and furious, marched in. Willow trailed behind her, arms folded defensively. Scarlett stood before me. I want to close the marriage. She snapped. Enough of this game. You're disrespecting me, humiliating me in front of everyone by dating James's daughter. I didn't sign up for that. My eyes flickered to hers. You wanted an open marriage. Scarlett, this is exactly what open means. She tossed a stack of envelopes onto the coffee table. I'm done, Jonathan. I can't handle my own daughter seeing me degraded like this. I can't handle seeing my own husband flaunt a younger woman. Okay, it's humiliating. Let's end this farce. I saw Willow nodding vigorously. Mom's right. This was definitely not the plan. You're making a mockery of us. I forced myself not to laugh. The plan? I repeated. Did you think you could waltz in? Tell me you're having an affair and I'd stay home like a convenient ATM paying for your escapades while you enjoy your new boyfriend's company. Did you assume I wouldn't fight back? This isn't a war, Scarlett said, her voice wavering with a mix of anger and desperation. Or at least it wasn't supposed to be. Fine, let's just say I made a mistake. I don't want James anymore. I just want to go back to how things used to be. Can we do that? Can we pretend we never tried this? No, I said simply, crossing my legs. We're not closing anything. Scarlett's eyes clouded with confusion. What do you mean? I said, no, you want an open marriage. We have a post-nup that says this arrangement stands until we both agree to close it, and I don't agree. So the arrangement stays. She stood there trembling. You're punishing me, she said, her voice breaking. I shrugged. You're the one who asked for it. Willow spoke up. Dad, come on. She said she doesn't want it anymore. Be reasonable. Did you never love Mom at all? My gaze flicked to Willow. A rush of frustration rose in me, bitter and heavy. You think love is a one-way street? Where was your mother's love when she asked to degrade me, to basically publicly humiliate me with her paramour? Did either of you once consider my feelings? They stared, unable to answer. I grabbed my wallet, stood up, and walked to the foyer. I'm heading out, I said. Don't wait up. I have a date. Scarlett's face fell. Willow just gawked like she wanted to hurl insults, but no words formed. I left, the echo of the front door slam punctuating my departure. 2 days after that confrontation, Willow tried to meddle again. She cornered me in the hallway before breakfast. Mom is in tears every night. She's miserable. I marched toward the kitchen. Calm. Miserable because her plan backfired. Are you telling me you're concerned about her mental health, or just upset you have to witness it? Both, Willow announced defiantly, stepping into my path. Dad, just quit messing around with Maria. If you want to keep the marriage closed, then act like it. Or if you want to divorce her, do it. But don't torture Mom like this. I brushed past her, ignoring the surge of rage in my chest. You didn't mind the idea of me being tortured in the first place, did you? Or did it amuse you to think of your father losing his dignity while you cheered your mother on? She flinched. That's not fair. It was about empowerment. Spare me, I said sharply. I'm through paying for your nonsense. Speaking of which, how's that car lease? Did it end soon? Who's paying the extension? She frowned, confused, as if the abrupt change in subject caught her off guard. You know, I don't have the money, Dad. Then you better figure it out, I said, because I'm done footing the bill for you. The same goes for your ridiculous credit card debt and college tuition. Find a job or find another sucker, maybe James or your mother's new flings. They might be charitable. Who knows? Her face paled. Are you serious? You can't just cut me off. I'm your daughter. I carefully set down my coffee mug. You took your mother's side. That's fine. Now you get to live with the consequences of it. Her teeth clenched in frustration. You're going to make me beg. Try working, I said coldly. Ever heard of that? She stormed out, tears brimming, shouting, You're a monster, as she disappeared down the hallway. 2 more weeks crawled by. Willow's bills piled up. She had that leased car, her mounting college loans, and no steady job. She spent her days texting friends, waiting for a miracle. Maybe she expected me to cave. Eventually, the time bomb went off. One afternoon, I returned from work to find Willow on my doorstep, furious, tears staining her face. I got a letter saying they're going to repossess the car, she hissed. shoving a piece of paper in my face. You can't do this. I need my car. I can't just not go to class or show up somewhere on a bus like a loser. I sighed, stepped around her, unlocked the front door. If you feel too proud to take a bus, that's your problem. She followed me inside, gesturing wildly. Dad, you were always the one who said you stand by me, that I wouldn't have to worry about money during college. Are you really going to backtrack on your word? Scowling, I turned to her. My condition for paying your bills was that you at least respect me. Instead, you and your mother tried to humiliate me. So yes, I am backtracking. If you can't handle the new reality, you're free to leave. I can't pay for any of these debts, she yelped. I have like $300 in my bank account. I headed toward the living room. Not my problem. Ask your mother's lover. Maybe James can cut you a check. Or maybe one of your mother's future bed partners. Willow let out a shock breath. That's cruel. I gave her a cold, tight smile. I'm only following your logic, dear daughter. Mom's free. You're free. Everyone's modern, right? Isn't that what you wanted? She slapped the arm of the couch in frustration. Why are you being so nasty? Yes, do tell, said a new voice. It was Scarlett, stepping out from the hallway. Her expression was brittle. She held her arms crossed over her chest, looking at Willow, then me. Why are you punishing both of us like this? I turned to my wife. I'm not punishing anyone. I'm simply not rewarding disloyalty. Scarlett's eyes flicked to Willow, who was on the verge of sobbing. She softened her tone. Honey, go upstairs. I'll talk to him. Willow glared at me one more time, then stomped away, brushing angrily past her mother. Scarlett waited until she was gone, then faced me directly. Jonathan, enough. You've made your point. This entire open marriage fiasco was a terrible idea, but now you're just being sadistic. She's your daughter. She's young. She doesn't understand what she got herself into. I shrugged. She's old enough to goad you into an affair. She's old enough to handle the consequences. Scarlett balled her fists. Look, if that's how you want to handle Willow, fine. But you and I, can we talk civilly? She swallowed. I'm done with James. All right. He turned out to be a smooth-talking bastard. He's already pulled away. Canceled the last few dates. Actually, you got what you wanted. I'm humiliated. But can we stop this madness now? Stop it how? I asked. Close the marriage. Let's try to go back, or at least find some new normal, without random dates or stupid drama. I'll sign anything. My jaw clenched. 2 weeks ago, you tried that same request. I told you no. So, why do you think anything's changed? Tears glimmered in her eyes. Because I can't do this anymore. She nearly shouted, voice cracking. I can't stand seeing you with Maria. She's my daughter's age. I can't handle the thought of you sleeping with her. It's messing with my head. Just let's be a couple again, even if it's not perfect. I stared at her. No, you open this door. You keep it propped open. We're past the point of no return. She sank onto the couch, burying her face in her hands. You're so hateful now, she whispered. Where's the man I married? That man died the day you asked for an open marriage, I said, voice lacking sympathy. And I walked away. A month passed. Willow, fed up with my refusal to pay for her life, moved out. She crashed with friends, but it was rocky Scarlett left behind, fell deeper into despair. She spent her days half-dressed, prowling the house as though searching for something. Occasionally, I'd see her rummaging through old pictures, tears slipping silently down her cheeks. One day, she cornered me on the back porch. Her eyes were bloodshot. Jonathan, I need to tell you something. I've been seeing doctors, she said quietly. I haven't been feeling well. I raised a brow, noticing how thin she'd gotten. The bones on her shoulders jutted out in ways they hadn't before. Doctors? She nodded, drawing in a shaky breath. I tested positive for an STD, she admitted, her face turning crimson. I got it from James. I never even thought he'd anyway. I'm on medication. It's treatable but humiliating. So, I hope you're happy. You got your revenge. Something in me twitched, a pang of guilt or pity I couldn't discern, but my voice remained controlled. I'm not happy, Scarlett. This is all a consequence of your choice. Do you think I set this up? No. You asked for an open marriage. I said yes. Then you jumped right into bed with the first man who charmed you. A tear slid down her cheek. She swiped it away angrily. I get it. You hate me. I just hope you're being safe with your fling, because STDs are no joke. I stared at the fence, at the horizon beyond. Anything but her gaze. Maria's not some fling. But thank you for the concern. She stared at me, voice trembling. You're a monster. I said nothing. She whirled around and left me alone on the porch. I remained there a good while, letting the autumn breeze swirl around me. Some part of me felt a faint sense of sorrow for her, for what she was going through. Another part just reiterated the same old line. She brought this on herself. Things escalated again 3 weeks later. Willow surprisingly returned to the house outraged and frantic, slamming the door behind her. I was in the kitchen reading emails when she stomped in. I have overdue loans, she said, her voice trembling with anger. I can't cover them. Dad, you need to pay them off. I kept my gaze on my phone. I don't need to do anything. I replied. I told you I'm not your personal piggy bank anymore. Her eyes darted about the room. Mom's too broke to help. She barely has enough to pay for her own bills, much less mine. That jerk James fell off the radar. She can't even ask him for help. Where am I supposed to turn? I set my phone down and met her eyes. You're an adult now. Figure it out. She snarled. You let your own daughter get crushed by debt. You would ruin my credit, my future, just because you're holding a grudge. No, I said it's you who messed up your credit. You who took your mother's side, ridiculing me like I was some relic. Well, I guess that relic doesn't want to sponsor your lifestyle anymore. She stormed toward me as if she wanted to physically lash out, but then I tensed, ready to defend. Don't push me, I warned, voice quiet. I've been very patient with you. If you want, you can go ask your mother's lover for a bailout, or find another job besides a half-hearted attempt you've made so far. If your friends won't give you a loan, that's also not my problem. Fine, she spat. I'll remember this. When you're old and need someone to look after you, don't expect me to lift a finger. I arched a brow. I'm not worried. I'm quite capable of paying for my own retirement. She stared, chest heaving, then whipped around and fled. I heard her furious footsteps echo down the hall. About 5 minutes later, I heard the front door slam. She was gone again, leaving me in a silent house. In the following weeks, the litany of heartbreak around me was obvious. Scarlett kept losing weight and seemed physically run down. She rarely left the house, and when she did, she'd ghosted and out like a shadow of herself. Once in a while, she'd muster some small pleas to me. Can we talk? Or Jonathan, please, can I fix us dinner so we can discuss everything? I never gave in. My attention had shifted to Maria. Originally, my relationship with her had been an act of defiance, but somewhere along the line, genuine affection formed. She was ambitious, working on building portfolio as a fashion model. We laughed together about how twisted our connection was. Her father had dated my wife, and here we were, forging something real out of that chaos. I found myself relaxing in her presence in a way I'd never done with Scarlett, not in years. She was warm, but also direct. She asked about Afghanistan once, and for the first time in decades, I told someone what I'd done there, what it had done to me. She listened without judgment. She never used my past or my vulnerabilities against me. One evening, as we sipped wine in her apartment, she said quietly, I'm pregnant. And in that moment, it was as though the entire universe paused. How far along? I asked, my chest constricting. About 8 weeks, she said, searching my face. You're the father, obviously. I want to keep it. A swirl of emotions battered me. Shock, apprehension, a flicker of joy, a pang of guilt. You're absolutely sure? She nodded, eyes shining. Yes, I didn't plan this, but I'm ready, and I hope you are, too. I found myself straining to remain stoic the way my father had taught me. But in that instant, I realized I wanted this child. Part of me wanted to do fatherhood right this time around, without the bitterness of a dysfunctional household. All right, I said finally. All right, Maria, We'll figure it out. She exhaled as though relieved. Thank you. I know it's complicated, but I don't want to run. I never intended this just to be vengeance on my father. That mention of James made me stiffen, but I set it aside and kissed her forehead. Let's not talk about him. Let's worry about us, about the baby. When I next went home, Scarlett was in the living room, slumped on the couch, staring blankly at reality TV. She muted the show the moment I walked in. Where were you? She asked, her voice dull. With Maria? I answered, heading for the stairs. Jonathan, she said, her tone shifting. Look, I'm sorry for everything that happened, but can we at least talk about next steps? Can we close this marriage or file for divorce so I can move on? I can't stand the limbo. I paused on the staircase, turning back. If we divorce, you forfeit everything. You walk away with next to nothing. She gave a tired nod. I know, but maybe that's better than living like this. I looked at her closely. She looked worn truly. Her hair had lost its shine. Her cheeks were gaunt, and her eyes were ringed with dark circles. For a split second, I pictured the Scarlett I married decades ago, and a pang of sadness welled in me. But it was fleeting. We'll talk about it, I said coolly and went upstairs. 2 months later, Maria gave birth prematurely to a baby boy we named Kevin. That swirl of new fatherhood consumed me, overshadowing any leftover thoughts about Scarlett or Willow. I found myself with renewed purpose, stepping away from the office more often, delegating responsibilities to my senior managers, focusing on Maria and the child. I proposed soon after Kevin was born, wanting him to have a stable family. Maria accepted. We arranged a simple ceremony privately after I insisted on signing a new prenup. Part of me chuckled that I was turning into my father. Another part recognized that the old man was right about protecting what matters. Still, I couldn't fully ignore Scarlett. She once called me late at night, sounding delirious. Jonathan, she whispered, her voice shaky. I think I made a mistake. I want to come see you. I'm not feeling well. I need you to. I stopped her. Call your parents, Scarlett, or call an ambulance if it's a medical emergency. I have a newborn to care for. I'm not your savior anymore. She fell silent for a full 5 seconds, and then I heard her break down. I hate you, she said, thick with tears. She hung up. That was the last time we ever spoke directly on the phone. I filed for divorce a few weeks later. I told Ron to expedite it quietly. No fuss or long battles. He got the job done with cold efficiency. Scarlett signed the papers without a fight, perhaps relieved. She disappeared soon after, presumably to her family's place, though I didn't ask. I devoted myself to Maria and Kevin forging a new story out of the rubble. Willow. I found out through brief rumor that she'd taken a job at a fast food place flipping burgers. One afternoon, I stopped by that same McDonald's, mostly out of curiosity. I didn't try to speak to her. She didn't notice me. She was rushing between the kitchen and the serving area, hair tied back, face flushed, but she looked okay, healthier than the last time I saw her. Maybe working for a living was teaching her what it meant to stand on your own feet. I walked out with my lunch in hand, not saying a word. I felt oddly proud she was at least learning some responsibility, but the rift between us was still vast. I left her to whatever path she wanted to walk. 5 years passed. Kevin was a joyful kid, bounding around the house. Maria and I had a stable life. I never tried to contact Scarlett or Willow. Some part of me wanted closure. Another part was too entrenched in the new reality to dwell on old regrets. Occasionally, through random acquaintances or sparse news, I heard that Willow had found another job, that she was renting a small apartment, slowly paying off loans. Good. No reason for me to step in. She made her choice long ago. Resistance to my money was exactly what she needed. One Sunday morning, the phone rang. I'd been in the living room helping Kevin organize his art supplies. Maria was out back enjoying coffee in the easy sunshine. The caller ID startled me. Scarlett's father. We hadn't spoken since the divorce was finalized. I picked up. Hello. A few seconds of silence. Then his voice came through. Subdued. Jonathan, he said quietly. Scarlett passed away last night. I felt an abrupt lurch in my chest. What? How? I managed. She was living with us, but her health had been declining for a while. The infection she got from that lover. James never fully went away. Complications. She was in and out of the hospital for months. Last night, he trailed off, voice trembling. She didn't wake up. I stood there, phone clutched tightly, my throat tight. I'm sorry for your loss, I said at last. Words too small for something so final. Are you okay? He paused, exhaling audibly. We'll manage. I just thought you should know. I nodded, though he couldn't see me. Thank you for telling me. He didn't say anything else. A weary sigh, and then the line clicked. I lowered the phone, staring at the blank screen. Kevin was in the middle of meticulously coloring a paper airplane. Maria, out in the yard, was humming quietly, sipping coffee in the sunlight. I thought of Scarlett's final days, of her slow decay, of the tears and the regrets. How many times she must have whispered my name in anger or sorrow. A swirl of conflicting emotions hit me. Pity, relief, regret, bitterness. But mostly, I felt the weight of irreversibility that once certain lines are crossed, there's no going back. I put the phone down, gently ruffled Kevin's hair. He looked up at me with bright eyes. Dad, can I show you something? Sure, I said, forcing a small smile. Show me,